They were afraid.
That's a huge thing.
But they came in with a heavy heart.
We are humans.
Is morale bad?
We look at it a little differently. We just got to think outside the box.
Lack of appreciation or recognition.
This is what I got going on.
I have two different thoughts about that. Welcome to Real Talk with Dr. Pete, where we're live and we're hitting it hard, talking about real issues of life that applies to leadership and it applies to you growing and achieving your destiny. So the topic today is an interesting one. I know you're a leader, you're a nursing home administrator, I am. And this whole thing about morale, when, staff say morale is bad. And, I have two different thoughts about that. Is morale bad when you love what you do? Talk to me a little bit about that. What you think? What are your thoughts about that?
It's interesting when you say is morale bad when you love what you do, and I think we have to put ourselves in the perspective of the staff who are saying the morale is bad. I think for us we look at it a little differently as a leader. So when the staff are saying morale is bad, what does that mean? What's the root cause of the morale? And who's bringing it down? Is it the leadership that's bringing it down? Is it the staff that's bringing it down? We got to get to that root cause analysis. And I know you're going to take us there. You're going to drive us there. But, when we talk about morale, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing because morale is AKA culture, right? The culture is bad. So, Dr. P, drive us there. I know you said you had a few thoughts on it. What are your thoughts and how do we fix it?
Well, first of all, I think, when you love what you do, poor morale can still occur, because of various factors, workplace issues, burnout, lack of appreciation or recognition, and sometimes it could be personal challenges. Remember, there's a big push legislatively regarding trauma-informed care and trauma-informed communities. So when you look at staff members, they have trauma. They don't all of a sudden come to work and whatever they were dealing with outside of work goes away. I've had employees that were battered. I've had employees that lost where they live, but still had to come to work. I've had employees that were living out of a car because they got kicked out, but they still needed to work. So they came in, but they came in with a heavy heart, and so sometimes morale is external factors. It's not always the workplace induced, that's one. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
It's very interesting that you said it because you're so right. Oftentimes what's happening in our personal life can come with us to work. We don't check our baggage at the door, as they say. So it comes into work, and if we had a bad day, now we're coming in with and we have a bad attitude. We go to our first patient. That patient gets a whiff of our bad attitude. We leave the room, go to the next patient. That patient gets a whiff of our bad attitude. And now those patients have a bad attitude because of how they were treated. So the next nurse comes in and she's excited to be there. She's excited to work with them. But that patient had a bad attitude and gave it to that nurse. And now that new nurse is infected with the bad attitude. So, one bad apple has rotten the whole place for the day, right? Because that first initial nurse had a bad attitude. And it's all because we didn't check our personal issues at the door. Now, you mentioned you've had people who have personal issues where they're living in a car. They're homeless. Their house is burned down. Sometimes it's impossible for us to check our emotions at the door. We are humans.
Exactly.
We aren't robots. We're not AI. We don't just come out with canned responses. We are humans. So it's very hard sometimes. But I think what's important from a leadership perspective is we have that open door policy. So when somebody's having a bad day, they can come into our door, come into our office, close the door and say, this is what I got going on. And we can empathize with them. We can have that emotional intelligence to help them bring that out. I'd rather you unload it on me as a leader than load it onto the patients and load it onto your teammates. Because we talked about the bad apple going from room to room.
But here's the thing. I've been in organizations, or I've taken over facilities where they were afraid, so you as a leader have to facilitate the environment by which your staff can freely come when they are challenged. That way, you say you have an open door policy, but do you? When they come to you, is it always negative, or they're always wrong? Or when you're in a meeting and they give ideas, do you shut them down and embarrass them? to the point where they don't want to say anything. So a lot of times, not all the time, but we as leaders, we set the tone.
Yes.
We
Yes.
set the tone. And so when we come in there, we have to have an environment by which they can come and feel free. Now, be professional. Now, we're not talking about ratchet, sloppy, disrespectful. We're talking about professionally come with respect about your concerns and stuff like that, and we can handle it. And then at that time, you can give them the proper resources. If it's EAP, you know, employee assistance program that assists with several different areas, be it finance, mental health. You know, you can most companies offer that now as a resource to the employees, particularly after COVID. But
Yeah.
but the first aspect for me in morale development and the environment is leading by example. You got to demonstrate a positive attitude. You know, I'm a martial arts instructor. I teach taekwondo. When I'm free and stuff. But I was always taught when I was in the instructor program that when you walk into that school, whatever it is before you walked in, you leave it at the door, because what'll happen is the children will pick up that energy, and it's supposed to be that karate school is supposed to be full of energy, positivity, getting them to learn a form and skill and spar. You don't want to come in there humdrum and woe is me. And we're not saying that you're not going through, but this is where you are in charge of your emotions, and your emotions are not in charge of you as a leader. So demonstrate that positive attitude and commitment to the organization goals. Your behavior, it's your behavior. The leader's behavior sets the tone for the entire team.
You're right. You're right. And the leadership sets the tone for the entire team. And so many leaders fail to realize that when they say the culture is bad, they think the solution is just a fire. Well, it's not just a fire. I'm very reserved and selective of who I terminate. And for me, I have to get to the root cause of the issue. Did I give them the tools? Did I provide them everything they need to be successful? So when we talk about, once again, the culture, it's, are we staying in our office and not going out and interacting with people? Are we keeping our door closed? Are we walking around with our earpieces in the ear, talking like we're more important than everyone else? Are we walking by call lights and not answering call lights?
Woo! Nothing irks me more.
So, but if I'm doing it as a leader, how can I get mad at my team for following the leader? Since when don't we follow the leader? So when they follow us and do exactly what we do, and our solution is to fire them, well, no, we didn't do anything. We didn't fix the issue. So when you talk about morality, are we having those meetings that people hate to have, which is that employee engagement meeting, right? I don't want to go. All they're gonna do is a bad word, right? All they're gonna do that. Well, they're bad wording because they're unhappy. This is their forum. This is their place to get it out. And I'd rather you get it out right in front of me than get it out on Facebook, TikTok, Google. I'd rather you do that. You can let me have it. Don't go put it on Google. Don't go Facebook and then TikToking about where you work, right? So I think with that being said, it starts at the top. And how are we evaluating the culture? What is our pulse on it? I used, when I worked at a facility during COVID, one of the systems that we had, and I was the only one in a 15 community nursing home that was doing this. We had that system that would alert, when you have a COVID positive, things like that. We sent the email or message to every staff member's cell phone. Well, what did I do? And they were able to text back and forth. I turned it around and I made it an employee engagement because it was anonymous, right? And I said, what do you like about your job? What do you dislike about your job? And I started getting feedback from there, and I got way more feedback because it was anonymous.
Right.
And that's how
So
you improve
I'm gonna
employees.
take it a step back a little bit. I know I talked about one of the first things you do is lead by example. And that while that is true, when we talking about improving morale, you gotta you gotta look at who you bringing in. Do they align with the vision and the goals of the organization? Uh, do they? Or are you just hiring again, like we spoke before, for skill? And then they come in,
I got a pause.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they have a pulse, and we need you bad. Here, take these keys. I need you on the cart tomorrow.
Man,
We
listen.
haven't taken the time to really assess and really ask those interview questions that says, was there ever a time when you disagreed with your boss, and what was that look like, and how did you handle that? Was there ever
You
a
know
time
why
when
we don't do that? You know why we don't do that? Because if I don't hire you, I gotta take the keys at 3 o'clock. So let me hire you because better you than me.
So I think when we're talking about improving morale, it really starts at the door when you're in your hiring process to make sure that those that are being hired align. And then after they're hired, during that 90-day process, we're still checking you out and making sure that your values and your work ethic aligns with that of the organization. The other thing, other than leading by example, is communication. Uh, I get that a lot. When I do little surveys with the staff when I come to a building or whenever I'm going somewhere, and one of the big things they always say is poor communication. That cascade of information that we learn from the corporate world. The corporate gives um, a directive or mandate, and it flows through the leadership down to the line staff. A lot of times there's a break in that. The line staff doesn't know what the leadership knows, and sometimes it causes a little bit of hardship. So communicating effectively is another um, component of improving morale. Communicating now, it's a two-way thing too. Now, it can't be just us communicating to them, but we have to learn to listen and communicate and through our communication with them. So sometimes it's them talking and not us talking.
You said something key. Communication is two ways.
Yeah.
And if oftentimes for people, if we're talking, we're not listening. See, what I have to teach the staff, and I had to learn it myself, and I'm continuously learning it according to my wife, is I need to listen to process. How many times do you talk to people and you say something the moment you get done, there's no pause. They didn't digest the information. They were already thinking how they was gonna combat you.
Guilty as charged. I think we all have that. Because we don't want to forget. We want to just say our piece. So we're not really listening to uh, um, give a thoughtful answer or wait or let them get their words out. We're just listening so that we can find that empty spot where we can get our words across. But that's not how it works. A couple weeks ago, I did a drill with my leadership team where I put them in a circle and I turned them around, facing outside of the circle, and I told them there was about 14 of them. So I said, "All right, I need y'all to count from 1 to 14. Only one person per number. You can't count over each other. Every time you count on each other, or somebody says the same number or talks on top of each other, we start all over again."
Ooh.
And so they learn quickly that, wait a minute, I have to listen. And even within that drill, as soon as I said go, one, somebody was quick to say theirs because they were impatient. They wanted to make sure they got their words in, right? So yeah, it was a really good drill. They really enjoyed that, and it really showed them that sometimes you have to wait, you have to listen, you have to feel the energy, feel what the person is saying, and listen, and take your time before you respond. So it was a great little drill. So communication is another aspect is appreciation.
I appreciate you. I got you a pizza party.
you know so it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could just be a card, it could be a chocolate bar, it could be,
Pizza
hey,
party.
the other day the leadership team was talking about you. We heard about that you're always available for the staff, you're always helping on every unit. Appreciate you for doing that. You raising there's a buzz about your name, so good work. Simple things like that to let them know that they're recognized is important. And then you do those other things like 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year birthdays and stuff like that. But appreciation goes a long way.
Man, let me tell you how I appreciated this one nurse home I worked at. Um, they were used to having canned Christmas parties, and this is a nursing home in Detroit. I was their sixth administrator their year. That year, I came in after L citation. They didn't think I was gonna last past the day I started, past the interview, and I showed appreciation differently. So for my leadership staff, I had a catered Christmas party, so it was catered in, and I paid for it out of my pocket, which unfortunately, we didn't have petty cash. So I paid for it out of my pocket. And then I also had masseuse come in, and it wasn't expensive, right? I reached out to the local massage therapy school and said, "Hey, you got students that need hours? I got, I got, I got
That's a good
staff who want
idea.
massages. Hey, isn't that a good idea? I got staff who want massages, right? My leadership team, unless they watch this to this day, and that was 4 years ago, had no idea I brought a school out. These were masseuses that I took care of, but it was something different, something they had never seen. And then what happened was we had so much food left over, not intentionally, but it happened, that then I started calling in the rest of the staff to come on down, get some of this catered food. And if there was time left, which there was time left, right? They also got massages. Now that showed, a different level of appreciation that they had never seen. And when I see some staff to this day, they talk about it. They say, we ain't never gotten a massage since you left. I
That's
bet you
cool.
did.
I might have to steal that idea. That's not
Man, it's
bad.
a brilliant man. I've done that. I've rented out theaters. People think theaters are expensive. During COVID, there was a time to rent out a theater. You were able to rent out a theater for $100. Now, people
Yeah.
say, we can't get together. Why? We work in this building all day together. What's the difference from us getting in the movie theater? We're in this morning meeting together. We can go into a big spacious movie theater. So I would do like Friday nights where we would have families come out, and I rented out the movie theater for $100, $200. You had to cover your own popcorn and pop, but that shows appreciation. It's
Yeah.
relatively inexpensive for us to rent out a theater, get a new movie, and then have them bring their kids and things. That's the level of engagement. People walking up, I'm shaking their hand. Hey, thanks for coming out, right? I understand if the staff couldn't make it this Friday because you work midnights or whatever, we would do it on the opposite Friday so the opposite set of people can come in. I would call around a famous Dave. That was one of my favorite places to call. We were the only nursing home in that city, so we got all the residents. So I would call and say, "Hey, I'm Demetrius. I'm the only nursing home in this city. I love to partner with you. Can you make a donation to us? We want to celebrate our nurses, or this month we want to celebrate this dietary department. Can you make some donations?" You'd be surprised how many community partners will partner with you to help you
Yeah.
celebrate your team. So
Yeah.
not everything costs as a leader. We just got to think outside the box as a leader,
Right.
and
Right.
that shows appreciations versus that pizza party, right? That I was joking about today.
Yeah. They tired of pizza.
Yeah, that's why I switched it up and got pineapples on the last time.
They tired of pizza. But
Why?
one of the other things for those that are futuristic minded, lack of a better word, a lot of them are looking to see if I come to this organization, or if where's the opportunities for growth and development. When I come in here, I'm still on a cart, but you posted a position and you gave it to an outsider, and I'm right here, and so that opportunity to grow and develop is really important to a lot of employees.
You know,
I
you're
was,
100% right.
huh?
You're 100% right.
Yeah, I was reading. I'm a member of Right Now Media, and I was watching a video about the Joshua problem, and it was so fascinating because the guy says it was all to say that we don't have succession planning in a lot of our organization, and it brings down morale. And here's what happened: Moses prepared Joshua to take his place. He groomed Joshua, he mentored Joshua so that when he left and when he died, Joshua was able to take the people where they needed to go. But the problem was Joshua did not have a Joshua. And so they went into the period of the judges where they just did all what they want to do. You see what I'm saying? And so I was like, wow, I never thought about it that way. So Moses had a Joshua, but Joshua didn't. He didn't do any succession planning. He didn't mentor or grow anybody to take over when he was gone. So at that time they went into the period of the judges where everybody did what they wanted. No king, no nothing.
How many people? So I'm gonna talk about it on two levels, right? And I'll talk about us, right? Our relationship and the relationship I have with other people. But how many people surround themselves with people in their circle that they are willing to push and willing to be pushed from. And you talk about having somebody to have a succession. I think leaders sometimes are afraid to have people on their team who can take their job. I know many administrators who won't hire an AIT. They won't hire a DON that has an administrative license. Let's spoiler alert, I can't be hired. Nobody will ever hire me in a clinical role because I'm an administrator in the background that I have. You will never be able to be hired in a respiratory therapy capacity in a nursing home because they always will be thinking that you're here to take that administrator's role. It's one of those subconscious biases we have. But when we mature, we realize that we should put people in positions that have a different skill set than us if we want to excel. When we have a small mind, we don't put people in those positions. So to your point, you got to have a Joshua. You have to have somebody there who is your succession plan. And I've done it plenty of times, hired an AIT and trained them up. I did it most recently when I was leaving Detroit. I was grooming this young lady to take over my role. She didn't even know I was moving to Hawaii. I knew I was moving to Hawaii. But I knew the day I took the job, I was leaving this. They said, look, Mr. Kirk, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I said, ooh, not here in Hawaii. Wow. But I knew I was training her to take the job, but so many leaders won't do that. At the administrative level, local level, whatever, they just won't do it, man. And that handicaps us and it handicaps the organization.
I personally, my mentality is, it may seem a bit arrogant, but I don't mean it that way. I feel that what God has for me, it is for me, and that can no man take from me. So just because I'm training you, if you're going to take this job, then it's your time. You know, God's got something better for me. I'm not going to stress because I know to this day, God has had my back on every job. I may not have seen it at the time, but when I look back in retrospect, it's like, wow, his hand has always been on me. You know, I've always been where I needed to be, to learn what I needed to learn, to meet the people I needed to meet, you know, to be influenced, to be an influencer, to be impacted, to impact. You know, it's always a push-pull relationship that I've always been in. So I'm at the place in my life, if I train you and you take over, okay.
Hey,
that means I'm overqualified for this position and it's time for promotion.
You know what's funny is I had two people in my life, and I won't say their names, but they know who they are, who I trained up, brought them in, got them whatever, and they tried to go behind my back. Even at the most recent job, tried to go behind my back, sent a letter to the CEO, all these other people, just trash talking me when they thought they had the skills to take over the job. And it never worked. You know, people know my character. They know who I am. Demetrius he's a type A personality, but what you see is what you get. And if you start putting all this misinformation in the letter, it's going to show your true character and what you are and who you're trying to do and what you're trying to do. So, right. To your point, man, if it's for me, it's for me. If it's not, it's not. And I like to say that I am have been blessed and continue to be blessed because I pour into others. And I'm not going to stop pouring into others. If you want to try to take advantage of that,
I appreciate you. You certainly have helped me.
You know, if that's what I'm here for. We're here to serve others. And when we talk about servant leadership, I know this is employee engagement, employee morale, but we can boost it by serving others when we're not thinking about ourselves. If I'm thinking about ourselves, we would have never met. We wouldn't even be on this podcast. And I'd be like, no, you know, I got my own brand. I'm not going to come on your thing or, you know, I'm not going to take time out. But in order for us to function as a society, as a world, as a community, we got to pour into other people. We can't just think about me. We can't do that.
See, if you don't pour, God has no place to fill.
Yes.
You know, so you're already full. There's no place to fill. So when you pour into somebody else, he's going to fill you some more.
I love it.
So, and I really believe that. I really believe that, you know, and I call it paying it forward, you know.
Yes.
I'm not like a crabs in the barrel. You know, for every, you know, I always say this, for every Subway, you know, there's a Blimpies. For every Popeyes, there's a KFC. McDonald's, there's, you know, Burger King. So you got yours, I got mine. You know, it's all right. There's plenty of room for everybody. But to speak about morale, you know, I only ask this question because, I've been a respiratory therapist. I've been in the healthcare over 30 years, and I love being a respiratory therapist. Was the work hard? Yes. Did I always like my boss? No. Was I tired when I went home? Yes. But did I go back and do it again? Yes, because I loved what I do. So my morale was always fine. But that's not to say that they're not external factors that might hinder or impede morale, good morale. So even though the idea of loving what you do might boost your morale, there could still be external factors that challenge that. You know,
Well said,
so
Dr. Pete.
a workplace environment, lack of ability to grow, you know, not leadership, not fostering a positive environment, not leading by example, all those things are not hiring um, appropriately, using good hiring skill methods to build and retain individuals. So those are all part of it.
Well said.
With
Well
that said, thank you for this session and thank you for having a conversation with me. I hope it
Hey,
was enlightened. I hope the folks out there on the different platforms. I would love to hear what you have to say about it. What's your take on morale? Um, is there such thing as bad morale when you love what you do?
hey, Dr. Pete,
Hey, let's
you,
talk
you
about it.
you say thank you for the session. Hey man, thank you for the session. I appreciate the invitation when you share with us. I know you're getting ready to take us out, but tell the people how they can follow you. I know you do great
Oh,
things
here
on
you
TikTok.
go
You're
again.
professional coach. You do all this stuff. So
Well,
you know,
all my platforms are I'm Dr. Pete. I am DRPETE, with the exception of Facebook is I am Dr. Pete. So my YouTube is at I'm Dr. Pete. My website is I'mDrPete.com. My TikTok is I'm Dr. Pete. So feel free to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. This kind of stuff right here is what we talk about, all things leadership, different aspects of leadership. I've got topics like leadership begins at home. If you want to learn how to be a leader, the home is good ground. Good ground. You learn how to budget, you learn how to listen, you learn how to communicate, you learn how to provide resources, you learn how to set a vision, you learn how to set a support, you learn how to shut up and don't talk when you're not supposed to talk. You learn a whole lot right there in the home as a leader. So that's on there. I got stuff on emotional intelligence. I got stuff on goal setting, how to achieve your goals, how to work towards your goals. And if anybody needs help with that, just link up with me, connect with me on I'mDrPete.com, and I'd be happy to assist you.
hey man, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm just blessed to be here. So thank you so much.
Man, I enjoy it. I enjoy with you, man. You always bringing it live.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. See you soon.